WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our website, www.wvtcdetroit.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users.
This is
Soulful Inspiration.
It's your girl, Nikki Jones. This will be an hour to feed your soul with music and laughter, information and inspiration. You're listening to WVTC
Detroit.
All designed with you in mind. So sit back, relax, and get ready to join the conversation with me,
Nikki Jones.
Soulful.
Soulful Inspiration.
Inspirations. Yes, sir.
Everyone, this is Pastor Jay. Listen, we are preparing a wonderful stage musical called One Sleepy Night Detroit. It's going to be an awesome time here in the city of Detroit. I am welcoming all of you. This is an open invitation for you to come join me. All you have to do is go to onesleepynight.com. You get all the information you need. We'll be at the Garden Theater and Music Hall. So look, get your family, get your friends together. We're going to have an awesome time as we celebrate together One Sleepy Night Detroit. See you soon.
Welcome to Soulful Inspirations. I am your girl, Nikki Jones. So excited to see you tonight. So excited to be seen and not viewed. Okay. Thank you for joining us on WVTC Detroit, where we are the two-time Stellar Award-winning Internet Station of the Year. And we are excited to be here with you tonight. If you did not notice, our show tonight is being sponsored by One Sleepy Detroit. Listen, that is a One Sleepy Detroit. It's a beautiful musical. I've already seen portions of it, and I'm telling you, you do not want to miss it. Some wonderful people from Detroit are in this production, and I'm telling you, some of the best of the best of the best. Val Ward and Gerard Brooks and so many other wonderful people from Detroit that you have seen or heard somewhere if you are a person who is part of the music scene. I'm telling you, Darrell Campbell, I'm telling you, he is the music director and he is phenomenal. And the music is phenomenal. I'm telling you, it's all original music, and this show is not going to disappoint you. You want to see it. It's Detroit style. Okay. It's Detroit style. So make sure you get your tickets for the music hall or for the Garden Theater to see One Sleepy Night. Okay. Thank you so much for your sponsorship, guys. I will see you there. Okay. Yes. Now, I want to tell you tonight is my sister, your sister night. Why? Because last week I was at an undisclosed location with two of my mamas. So this week we are going to bring the My Sister, Your Sister podcast crew in on tonight. Come on, say hello to everybody, y'all.
Hello. Good evening. Nice to see you guys again.
Good evening. Where's my sister? There she is.
Hey.
How you doing, girl?
Yeah, honey, they had a little under weather. So.
You little under the weather.
So I don't even want to be all breathing on the people.
You here in the flesh. I know, looking all crude and stuff. Looking all crude. Listen, we got a hot topic tonight, so I'm about to sit back and let my girl handle it. Go for it.
She must be me. Hey, y'all. Well, tonight's going to be an interesting conversation. So I'm sure y'all know, when your mom or an important female in your life say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. You remember that saying? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And, for me, it was never an idea that was the most truest statement that I have ever heard. Like when I was hearing it as a kid, I'm like,
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired of
It's
this.
crazy. She just tripping, right? But
Mhm.
it is a real thing, and it has a name, and it's self-silencing.
Mm.
And I have to give credit to Tam because she sent this long text. You know how like okay,
Yes, she did.
backtrack. So you know how like an email should send like a quick little message, you know, hey, I need you to do this, do that. And you know, sometimes people abuse the email, you know,
Yes.
system. I felt like she abused the text system when she sent this long article about self-silencing. And admittedly, initially, I didn't read it. I was like, oh, this is way too long. I started skipping, you know, through it. I was like, I ain't gonna read this whole thing.
She warned us. She said it was going to be long.
She did.
You know, it's another thing to say it's gonna be long. It's another thing where I'm like, feel like I'm reading the Old Testament. Okay. So it was like super long. But anyway, it was really, really good. And I told her after I read it, I was like, my gosh, this has a name to it.
Mhm.
And so I went, and of course, you know, I had to go and do a little stuff. And there was a recent article in Time magazine about it, ladies,
Mhm.
Mhm.
in October. And so let's talk about the facts of this, and then we're gonna get into the meats and potato of it. So today, women account for almost 80% of autoimmune disease cases.
Wow.
They are at a higher risk of suffering from chronic pain, insomnia, fibromyalgia, long COVID, irritable bowel syndrome, migraines, and are twice as likely as men to die from or after a heart attack. Women experience depression, anxiety, and PTSD at twice the rate of men and face a 9-fold higher prevalence of anorexia, the deadliest mental health disease disorder. So why is that women are falling ill to these diseases at, you know, such a higher rate than men? Such jarring disparities cannot be accounted for by genetics and hormonal factors alone. Because you know how they be talking about, oh, you must be on your period. You know what I mean, right?
Right.
Those were used against us to weaponize us, right? Like to not to weaponize us, to make us feel less than and devalue what we were feeling. And what this article was talking about was the psychosocial factors that play an important role as well into these circumstances and what's abusing the women's mental and physical health. And it's specifically, it seems that the very virtues our culture rewards in women, so agreeability, extreme selflessness, suppression of anger, may be the which predisposes us to chronic illness and disease, which lead us to the conversation today of self-silencing. And a Harvard-trained psychologist, Dana Jack, identified this reoccurring thing among female patients suffering from depression, a tendency to self-silence. And the definition of it is the propensity to engage in compulsive caretaking, pleasing the other, and inhabitation of self-expression in relationships in an attempt to achieve intimacy and meet relational needs. And through this longitudinal research, Jack found that this learned behavior, strongly rooted in gender norms, was linked to an increased risk of depression. I mean, let's go. I mean, all the things that, you know how like you feel something in your body, you sense something, but you didn't have a name. I feel so empowered to know that this is not just a name, but it's been studied and it's been linked to why women are falling to such ailments. And it's because a lot of the times women are subjected to silencing themselves due to the way in which our roles are structured, right? Like, can you imagine why single moms are just so super stressed, right? Like even mothers who have spouses, and yet there's gender roles that predetermine who does what. And then you wonder why so many people are left without spouses because they done died early, because we don't create that space to really be authentic. And, those are one of the words that are kind of like swirling around, like everybody want to be authentic. Everybody want to be real. But that does mean that you have to do a lot of things to free yourself from that. This is a lot of unlearning, right? of what we need to do to protect ourselves. I know I've said this on another podcast, but we have to put the mask on ourselves before we put the mask on others. I thank you, Delta, for giving me that line and safety precautions, because I say it all the time. I say it all the time. What say you all? Like, how does this, when you read it, how did it resonate with you all? Did it like ring any bells? Did it bring up something for you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It brought up a lot for me. Because I spent probably half of my life people pleasing. Making sure everybody else was okay. Probably more than half, if I really want to be honest. Because it wasn't just people that were close to me. It was people, people that weren't even close to me, people who were in the church that I was serving, whether it's the leadership that I'm serving, or even at work, whether it's my boss, just keeping some of my inner thoughts to myself about what could be done or what I think should be done. In relationships, definitely. After a while, I just stopped talking, period. For certain cases, I just stopped talking, period. Self-silencing just became a way of living for me. And it was a way that I coped with a lot of things. And so when I was alone, that's when I would decompress. That's when I would have my conversations with myself, or conversations with the Lord, or in prayer, or just outbursts at home while I'm cooking. I'm talking to myself and saying the things that I wish I would have said, or saying the things that I think I should say, but I just needed to get it out. Or either I'll call a girlfriend and say, hey, I need to just vent, and just don't say nothing. I just need to say this, and this. And, and I got it out that way, but it wasn't to the person who needed to hear it.
Yeah.
So definitely it resonated with me.
Right.
I agree. Even as you were talking, I could feel the stress.
You can feel it in your body.
Oh, girl, I could feel it welling up, and I just welling up to the point where I just, my hands.
Florida heavens.
Or as Florida said, damn.
Yeah, but it's real. I mean, I felt the stress of it.
Yeah.
When I read the article on LinkedIn, it resonated with me immediately, because I was in a place right at that moment where I was feeling the stress of silencing myself.
Yeah.
Because I knew that if I said one more thing,
baby,
it was not going to be pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even work related. It was with my children. Because I have self-silenced with them, so my daughters, so much. And it just the thought of it stresses me out, because I know that if I were to say what I really want to say,
baby.
It's like a button you be hitting every time you say, baby.
just talking about this brings up a lot of stress for me right now, because I feel the weight of me having self-silence since I can remember who I was, or who I am. I mean, from the day that I remember who I am, I feel like I've been self-silencing all my life.
Randy,
I agree with Pam on that one right there, because when we were coming up, our mom was out on drugs a little bit, and alcohol and all of that. So my brother and I were in a foster home, and my sister was in a different foster home. And then we kind of got adopted. My sister and I got adopted by my aunt. My brother was in a boys' home. My sister was in and out of girls' homes, and she was, a problem child. And I'm not gonna put all her business out, but Clifford was in a group home. Rachel was in another group home. And so the attention went to them. And so I'm doing well in school. I never received, acknowledgement in the family, accolades or nothing like that. It was like, she just does well. So all of the attention went to them. I was just neglected by default. And so I just never had a voice. And so I'm in marriage and all of that with kids. Tam sent the example saying the long
Parmesan
text,
cheese.
there was the Parmesan cheese example. So the mother is only a little bit of parm left. The mother gives it to her son. Her son doesn't even finish the meal. And she's like, I really wanted that. And she blurts it out. She's upset about it. And he's like, Mom, you should have just said you wanted it, you know? And they tell us the truth that we don't want to hear. And I said to Tam, like, that literally just happened to me last night. We only had a little bit of parm. I put it on either Torian or Joshua's plate, probably both of them. And I was like, oh, I really would like a little bit because it would zhuzh the spaghetti up a little bit. It's just spaghetti, it's bland. But every time I do that, if Torian and I get carry out, and one looks better than the other one, I will give him the one that looks better. Like, I'm constantly sacrificing and imploding on the inside because I don't have an outlet. So it resonated with me deeply. And I think the first step for me was acknowledging, we got a name for everything now. So now we got self-silencing. I'm like, but at least it has a name. And I can go do research on it and figure out why I'm doing this and how can I unlearn these behaviors. So
absolutely. And, I agree with all of that, both on a professional and personal level. And I think, like I said, when you hear those cliche statements like sick and tired of being sick and tired, or, you can name another. I mean, those, they have real mental and physical repercussions. And some of the things that we experience in our body, we don't necessarily feel immediately, but it builds up. So like when, for example, in the article, which I put the link in the chat, it talked about how they did this study at the University of Pittsburgh where they asked the question, and this was with women of color who strongly agree with statements like, I rarely express my anger to those close to me, were 70% more likely to experience increased cardiovascular plaque associated with higher risk of heart attack. So the fact that merely just imploding on the inside, as you described, Brandy, that's serious. Like that is something that we really need to pay attention to and really address. And when I was listening to Tam and Nikki, it's a vicious cycle. These are things that we also pass down to our children. These are things that we sort of make it okay, even among us as a sister group, not to be completely open, not to have that space to just say, you know what, Michelle, I ain't like what you said yesterday. You know what I mean? It's like you give me a pass because we cool, right? Like it's all right, it's cool. Now I don't want everything to be an issue either, right? Like, so you gotta create everything can't, every situation can't be met with a hammer, right? Every problem can't be a nail, and you just I forget, I'm messing up the metaphor, but the point is, we don't want to make everything an issue where we're just like ranting and raving either. Like we have to take this into real serious consideration, asking ourselves the question, how important is it for me to say this to this person? How would this allow me to express myself, to be able to get a point across, to get what I need? Because it's about getting what you need. How does that resonate with y'all? Because getting what you need, you all are mothers. So it's like, as a mother, you all are on the front lines of being selfless, of you don't have time to talk and explain and be yourself because you're dealing with husbands, you're dealing with kids, you're dealing with careers. Like, so how does that settle with you to actually, like, part of this is owning your own your womanhood and saying, you know what, this is what I need, and I'm going to get this before I do anything else.
I think for me, it's kind of difficult to determine when I need to speak up and when I don't need to speak up. So like for instance, I can't stand a greasy stove. Like that's a a huge pet peeve for me. Like, so what I started doing was when I noticed the stove is greasy and I know like my husband, because he fries food a lot, if he's not, going to clean it up right away, and I'm the one with the issue with it, I'll just go do it. Like I won't talk about it. To me, that's not enough.
But do you feel it in your body when you I mean, because that's a distinction. How does it make you feel?
But to me, like that is not. To me, that's not worth. I'm just saying. To me, that's not worth saying something about it. Now, if there's
and why not?
some disrespect, like if you said something to me that hurt my feelings, like pet peeves to me aren't big enough to go ahead and speak out all the time. But if there's something that damages me as a person, or that I feel has damaged my feelings, has hurt my feelings, if I feel judged, if I feel offended, then I need to speak out. You know what I'm saying? Like
pet peeve has nothing to do with your happiness then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the pet peeve. I think the pet peeve is, for me, is like something, it's just a preference that, for something in the house, but that's not going to make or break me as a person. But when it comes to how a person made me feel about myself, or how I feel about myself being judged in some type of way, or whatever the case may be, then I need to speak out.
Absolutely.
Like I've written a lot of emails to people that I've never sent because of how they made me feel, but I needed to get out.
That's a good practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that. I will write an email,
Lincoln letters, or whatever they call them,
and I'll start it. And the first rap, I can't say. I send it to my.
Yeah.
And then but along the way, believe me, I'm like, oh, if I could just say this. But the problem is that I'm saying it. I'm saying it.
You're saying it to you, though.
I'm saying
that's what I'm about to say. Say more. Like, is it enough to say it to yourself, or is it something else?
I'm saying it to me. I'm not saying it to the person I really want to say it to, but I'm feeling the stress of it.
Yeah. And they're not.
If I sit down and write an email, I'm sending it. I'm 100% gonna send it every time. I'll tell you why, because I sit down, I think about it, I'm very thoughtful, I'm very pensive. It might be some heat on it, the first draft. I'm gonna tweak it a little bit, but you're gonna get this email. Yes, you're gonna get that email. Now, I don't talk verbally in the heat of the moment because you can never retract those words, and you don't know how your words might damage somebody.
Yes.
And I'm not skilled to be able to deal with conflict in that way all the time. I think I said on Sunday, I am from an urban little town called Detroit, Michigan, and you will get smoke if you come the wrong way. I mean, that's just top of mind for me. Thank you, Jesus, for temperament and all the fruits of the spirit that the Holy Ghost gives.
Yes, Lord.
But initially, it's going to be smoke. That's what I think first. So I don't say it. I study to be quiet in that moment.
Yeah.
And I figure out what my part was in that thing and how I contributed to the breakdown, or, whatever the conflict was. And once I can unpack that, then I can go back and have a conversation with you.
And I think that's what you just said is very important. Unpacking how you feel and why you feel the way you feel. I tell my grandchildren all the time, nobody can make you feel anything.
Right.
You make a decision on whether you want to feel that way.
Right.
And nobody can make you feel stupid. Nobody can make you feel dumb. Nobody can make you feel ugly. If you don't believe you're ugly, then they can say whatever they want to say. But we all internalize and feel things, and we have to understand, where is that coming from?
Right.
What's the root of it?
Right.
But Nikki, I will say that going back to pet peeves, if a person does something over and over and over again, and you tell them, I don't like grease on the stove, and they keep letting grease come on the stove, at some point, that grease going to become a fire.
That's a good metaphor. That was very good.
I mean, she wrote that in. I like it.
But so at some point, if I keep telling my spouse, I don't like this, and he keeps doing it because it's just a pet peeve for me and he doesn't care, then at some point it goes beyond pet. and it becomes something greater. And for me, I have let things get to the greater.
Yeah.
For the record, he does clean up the stove.
I know that's right. You better take up for your man.
Never go home to a happy
It
house
took a long
tonight.
time for me to say it. He just noticed that I would start cleaning it up, and he'd be like, "I'll get the stove." He'll say something now.
Yeah, and I'm
And
just
he'll
using
tell
it as an example. But you know,
I'm just
sometimes
gonna put that out there in case he was watching.
Yeah, but sometimes we allow those things and to keep the peace.
Yes.
So just to keep the peace.
And that's my main
The
point.
thing about it is that he went to bed peaceful, and
I didn't.
ticked.
Yeah.
You know?
Snoozing.
And so that's myself. I am so guilty of this, y'all. That is ridiculous. And I can feel it in my body even now. And I'm like, okay, what do I do about this? Lord, can you pray it away? And then they say, okay, Tamara, just pray and pray for the person that's doing it. And I'll be praying for the person that's doing it. And then they still do it. And I just want to kick them in the throat.
You and these throat metaphors. I'm gonna watch you. But the thing is, it's not about always starting with fixing the other person. It's about what are you doing to take charge of your own emotional and physical well-being. And really it's about, especially when you're contending against, you know, the complex cultural system that is reinforcing us to do the opposite, right? And there are some tangible things, you know, you can actually do. I mean, first and foremost, stop ignoring what is aching your neck. Stop ignoring it. And address it and teach others and ourselves how to engage with one another and to be able to express without, you know, causing any damage or harm, in unattended harm. Like, you ain't got to go in with all the expletives and calling people donkey butts and, you know, being insultive. Right? You want this to be a healthy and very communicative conversation, right? You want it
but the issue sometimes is the people on the other side of that conversation, they usually sometimes they want to know right then. They want to go into a conversation right then. They want you to hash it out right now. And like Randy was saying, I have to temper myself. I need to process. I need to make sure that what I'm about to say is what I need to say.
That's right.
I want to put my feelings, you know, I want to make sure that my feelings are out there, that they know how I feel or how I feel in response to what happened or what took place. But I don't want to say it in anger, and I don't want to say it in emotion, because for me, I'm kind of like Randy, not to the extent where I might throw hands, but to the extent where, you know, I learned a lot of words that that I could say in a moment, you know, from aunts and uncles, you know, and and I don't use explicatives often. I'm just saying that I don't want to go there. And but when a person is pushing you, that's how I've learned as well to be quiet. And I rehearse Proverbs 19 and 11 in my head all the time. It's to a person's honor to overlook an offense. And so I try to start there and then go inward. And then, you know, but sometimes going inward, people don't want you to. They want to, no, what you got to say?
But you do have a form of control, though.
Yeah.
And I love that you all brought up a couple of pieces that are good points of practice. And remember, practicing is a progress.
Yes, it is.
It's a process. It is not perfection.
Yes, it is.
True. So hold on to that. Dr. Lawless said she had a couple of really good points about things in the article. And to say, we're talking about breaking that complex cultural system that defines how a woman should be and how a man should be. And we first have to start with ourselves in this unlearning that we talked about at the top, right? Like, we have to put ourselves and our emotional and physical being first, or we're not going to be good to nobody.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, and you gotta constantly keep yourself at the forefront of that. And I love that you all brought up some practices like going inward or meditation, right? Or mindfulness, right? Like, let me get myself mentally together. Let me snatch myself back and get myself together, give myself some energy and some air to breathe so that I can go forward clearly and collectively towards that issue. That's one. But I'm telling y'all, putting a mask on ourselves, if we can't do it for ourselves, we're not going to be good for our children, our spouses, our friends, our church, our peers who we work with. We got to say we are not going to do this for the sake of likability. I'm not going to be the martyr, right? Like, I'm not going to just burn myself. So one of the things that my supervisor would say to me as part of, for good or bad, her way of communicating values, she would say, I am not going to light myself on fire to keep other people warm. And so, this is a real thing. Like, these things that we are contending with and talking about, it's an attack on our bodies emotionally and physically. Yeah. So I love that you guys brought up meditation or mindfulness and using scriptures to help snatch you back into your Christhood. Because nobody wants that baptism certificate. You know what I'm saying? Suspended. Revoked. You know what I'm saying?
But Michelle, I want to get back to something that Dr. Lawler did say, and that is that she made a point of saying the article said that it is sometimes that we believe we don't deserve to put our feelings first.
Absolutely.
And there are people out there, and even I've done it and felt like maybe what I feel is not as important as what somebody else is going through.
But do you think that's a condition of the circumstances and environments to which you came from? Because again,
of course,
that's a great acknowledgement. And now what? Because you are important and you are valuable and you feel it.
Yeah. But so of course, like Randy, I came from a family where I was the middle child and I got good grades. I had 3 over me and 4 under me. And I wasn't the one that got all the attention.
Right.
So I just did my thing and my mother never had to worry about me. But then I got picked on and from my other family members, but I just stayed silent about it because it was easy.
Nobody gave you the tools.
No.
I hear you. Nobody
gave it to them.
Right.
Exactly.
Nobody gave it to them. So like
generational.
Raised by my mom, for all intents and purposes, I'm her only child, so it was just me and her for most of my life. And, she was the oldest. She is the oldest of all her siblings. So she had the responsibility of all the siblings under her, and so when she was raising me, no, I couldn't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? And me sharing my feelings was like, it wasn't frowned upon, but I had to be very careful. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't say exactly how I felt. I had to sugarcoat it with, sugar and honey and iced tea. You know what I'm saying?
Not the iced tea and lemonade. Ooh, that's sweet. Somebody gonna walk away with a cavity.
I had to cover it with a lot. I had to put a lot on it to be able to say anything. And then because after a while, they think you're ungrateful. They say you're ungrateful if you don't show appreciation. It was just how they were brought up. And so that's how they brought us up. You know what I'm saying? And they couldn't give you what they didn't get.
Yeah. And to Dr. Lawler's point, I think she's right that how I responded or reacted to things then, I can't do that anymore because where I'm going and what I need to do.
Well, you're aware.
Behaviors don't serve me anymore.
Right.
They won't allow me to go forward.
They served us when we were in survival mode.
Yeah.
Right.
And authority, and they are contrary to where we're going. They don't serve us anymore.
In partnership, and if you're in a partnership or relationship, and both of your needs aren't being served, then you're disserving yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ray, don't be in here giving us thumbs up. We need boundaries. Help us. Call this station.
That's it.
Renee, you are. Father
Dr.
Station to
Lawler.
tell us how to set boundaries.
Exactly. Because
And that was the next point. That was the next point. Setting boundaries. We have to do that.
Yeah.
But even to you all's point, in all honesty, I still self-silence. I self-silence with my husband.
Likewise.
I self-silence with my children. I self-silence at work. Even though I'm moving forward, and even though I'm doing everything I need to do to walk in this kingdom mindset, I still do it.
So what are you
But is that
feeling?
because, go ahead, Nikki. You about
I'm
to
sorry,
go
what
right
are you
on.
feeling when you self-silence? Like when you're self-silencing, what is going through your mind? Like this is not the time, or is it because are you self-silencing because you don't want to hurt this person's feelings? Are you self-silencing because you don't feel like having a conversation? Are you avoiding conflict? What are your
I
reasons
think
for
it
self-silence?
depends on the topic, and it could be all three at one time.
Gotcha.
It could be a mashup. I
Right
think
now, everything is going well, so I don't want to mess it up.
Mhm.
I really don't want this to eat, but he'll be happy, so we'll go there. I
Yep.
wish we could be on some, get in a plane and fly somewhere, but I'll settle for this. It's that, and I don't do it all the time, but I'm just being very transparent and say I still do it.
being very, very clear and honest.
Get along sometimes,
Mhm.
but the person that you're with, whether it's a friend or if it's your spouse, you feel like they will truly not be happy if we don't do things their way, and I can go either way. So let's do it your way.
Exactly.
And we just never do what we want to do. That's not.
And that's so unfortunate because we're tapping on to self-love, and we have to love ourselves so much so, and teach people how to love us in ways that create that healthy emotional and physical being. And there are moments. I don't think the self-silencing is saying don't think about others, don't not sacrifice, but there is a boundary when it comes to how it makes you feel and how it impacts you both emotionally and physically. So if it's if it's bringing up that tension in, like how Tamara said she was getting tense, if it's doing that, you might want to figure out how you gonna express that to the person that's causing
New
that
concept
tension.
for us. We just gave it a name and a face, so we are in the awareness phase right now.
That's right.
We got to come back and have a part 2 where a therapist actually helps us, gives us solutions and all of that. So we're giving it a voice right now.
Yeah.
We're giving people a voice.
I think there are a lot of women who do this and they do it all the time and they're not even aware they're doing it. Now that I'm aware that I do it, I say to myself, okay, I'm self-silencing. Then I ask myself the question, is it worth it? It has nothing to do with whether I love myself.
That's where I am.
It has nothing to do.
I think it does a little bit. I think when
I think I love me. But I also, is it a matter of loving me more or loving the other person less or loving the other person less and loving me more? I can't answer that question.
Loving you could be the same as loving somebody else, because how can you love yourself so much and not love another person? Or how could you not? We were born out of love. That is what, go to church and we read the Bible. We're made of love. So I don't think there's like this thing where if I love myself more, then I'm selfishly not giving you the same kind of love and emotion. I think when you love yourself, you have enough to be able to love somebody else.
Oh yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, so I feel like when I hold back, I feel like, okay, I'm not loving myself enough because I'm not trusting this person with how I feel.
Ooh, that's good.
That's
so
good.
Okay, what do I do with that?
Ding, ding, ding. I'll give you that.
Well, I do have a degree in psychology. So I know the basics.
Yeah, I read like the third, I don't know, the 300 level books of psychology, but I don't remember none of that stuff. So what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to do for me, because I know I self-silence, a lot, like Tam. That's when I started writing it down. I started writing emails.
That's another good point.
Yeah, because I don't journal that much. When I'm journaling, it's usually scripturally. It's usually me in study of the word. But when but now I will say because I could do an email on my phone. I could do an email. I could write a note on my phone. I can do an email at work real quick, and I can just send it to myself. or or leave it in my drafts or whatever, and I can at least write down how I feel, one, so that I can articulate it, because I have an issue in the moment articulating how I feel without being offensive. And so I know that about me. So it's like, I don't want to be offensive, because if I go in my emotions, which I've done before, it didn't turn out well, and so it's like, I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to hurt the other person. I don't want to offend the other person. So let me just silence myself and write it down. Or at least go back and record it. I've recorded some memos, some voice memos, like saying what I really needed to say, and then going back and listening to it, like so and so and so and so and so. And I've done that. So that's where I am right now with it. And I think maybe I can grow to the level where I can actually say how I'm feeling in the moment without being offensive. I'm not there yet, but
it's a practice.
It's a practice, but I think writing it down or emailing it to myself or doing a voice memo or whatever is a practice for me to at least get the feeling out, get the word out, get the emotion out, so the emotion can be taken out of it when I go back to actually say something, if I decide to go back and actually say something. Sometimes I don't even go back, because for me, it ain't even worth it. It ain't even worth it. I kind of play the conversation out of my head and be like, yeah, then I'm gonna say this, then they're gonna say that, then I'm gonna say this, then they're gonna say that. And I'll be like, you know what? It ain't even worth it. Or I decide to overlook, and I'll say, you know what? I don't think that person really meant to offend me. This is probably how they were feeling. It might not even be about me, what they said. They could be going through something else. And I might just completely drop it altogether after I've processed it and looked at my own part. So
yeah, I think that part of the problem for me is I typically put others' needs above my own. And I've always done that. And so that's the go-to, because that's what I've always done. And so I think it's a matter of changing that behavior, of saying my needs are just as important.
Yeah.
But until I get to that place, sometimes I'm doing better at saying, no, I'm not going to do that for you today. What about me? But I still, particularly when you have children.
That's what I was just about to say.
That's what you do. You're selfless. And so you do for your children, and you all know I do for mine. I want to make sure they're comfortable, and many times I'll be uncomfortable so they can be comfortable.
So you be screaming, I wanted the Parmesan.
You didn't even eat that Parmesan. You left all that Parmesan. Nah, see, you leaving no bacon on the plate, because I will take your bacon as long as I know you didn't touch it. I'm gonna take that bacon off your plate and I'm gonna eat it. But people, I get you.
Yeah. Rub my back.
And you know what I feel like in this conversation? This is so wonderful for me, because I get to understand a little bit more about you all's personalities and vice versa. And the thing that I'm walking away is that, oftentimes I feel like women, we take on the burden of doing everybody's homework, and we don't have to do everybody's homework. Yes, we have our own homework, and we should be working on ourselves, but we should also allow those other people in our lives that are engaged with us to do their own homework. We can't do the math problems for everybody.
Right.
That's where we're going wrong, because we're trying to make everybody else comfortable, and we sitting over here in the middle of the night. Now Junior needs some money for his gas, and then baby girl needs some shoes, and ain't nobody participating with you in solving issues that involve everybody or the people that involve. So I think we have to stop doing all the homework ourselves. We really do. We have to just say, now I'm gonna do something. Am I gonna do all of it? Like, again, boundaries. Like, what is it that
getting better at saying no, Michelle?
You getting better?
No, Michelle. That's on
Michelle Gilmore.
Michelle Gilmore.
She said, "No is a full sentence."
It's a blessing.
You better go and do it.
I love it. Yes, I am trying. I'm getting better at saying no.
I love it.
You had a courageous moment recently, Tam, because we were planning your birthday party.
I did.
We were going venue to venue to venue.
I did.
We finally landed somewhere. And we had been made all these promises by, the venue director and all of that. And tell us your experience.
Oh, yeah. I was ready to cancel the day before.
Yes.
I was like that, ready to cancel. And I told the gentleman, I said, there's a saying that says, go where you're celebrated and not tolerated. I said, I feel tolerated right now. So I'm just going to take my business somewhere else. I'll cancel this little party. We can do it after Christmas. But I will not come here and give you my money and feel tolerated.
Right. At first, it was a go along to get along.
I was
thing.
there.
Like, we've invited all these people. We've got to make it happen. And this is the only place that can accommodate us within the next 24 hours. So we got to go with it. But she spoke up, and that was a proud sister moment. She was like, you know what?
I did.
Well, see, that had something to do with her pocketbook. And one thing I know about Tamara Fontaine Hardy, she don't let nobody play with her pocketbook now.
That's true. It was even greater than that. It was like, you know what? I'm about to be 60.
Right.
Hello?
And I'm tired of letting people just walk over me. And I'm about to give you a lot of money, and I'm about to pay you to treat me bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Like,
Not today.
Not today. And so I was like, these folks, they ain't missing nothing because they ain't got nothing yet.
Right.
And so I was ready to cancel everything so that I could feel better about what I was doing and not letting someone treat me bad.
That's right.
Now, when it comes to stuff like that, I feel courageous and I can do that. Work.
It's the interpersonal.
Yeah, that's it. I remember one time at work, I was transitioning from one job to the next, and they wanted to keep me on as a consultant because there was nobody to do what I could do. So they wanted me to stay on and train. And so they said to me, you know, it'll be an easy transition. We'll keep you on at your same rate that you're making right now. And I was like, at my same rate, you telling me I'm going to go to another job, work 40 hours, and then you want me to come back here at 5 a.m. I said, no, we need to triple the rate. We need to, and they couldn't do nothing because they needed me. So they tripled the rate. But if I had kept my mouth closed, I would have been making the same rate, working overtime for these people. So it's the interpersonal relationships for me where I have an issue with speaking up with, because I don't want to be damaging. Not so much pleasing, I just don't want to damage because I know the effect of words. So I pray often that God helps me to speak the truth in love. So
that's it. Yeah. And it don't have to be harsh.
Yeah.
It could just be facts. I don't like the way
and if it turns out that I feel like I'm fearful of having a conversation, I have to get up every morning and for myself renounce fear and timidity and anxiety and depression and worry and all those things, and receive the love of Christ and receive my dominion and all those kind of things. So that helps me as well to not be fearful in having a hard conversation. I don't think conflict has to be a negative thing. I think conflict can be a positive thing.
I agree.
It can be done it could be done with a healthy.
We have to learn how to navigate it in a healthy way.
Yeah,
exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth.
It's an agitator in a washing machine. You got one of them old school joints. The agitator. It washes clothes. Agitation is necessary.
Exactly.
So
Cleansing. Yeah.
It's got a front loader so it whirl around, but still, they still got them old.
So true.
Yeah, and I agree, you know, agitation, but just like Michelle said, we have to command our morning. Talking about what do we do differently to move into that space where you're not self-silencing, or you know when to do it, how to do it for the right reasons, because self-silencing is not all bad.
Right.
Sometimes you do need to be quiet.
Right.
And sit yourself down.
Yeah, we talked about just having a balance, right? Like you can't.
So it's good to be still.
Yeah.
It's good to be
still. You know God.
We emphasized women here, but there are men who do this too.
Absolutely.
And we don't want to overlook them. I have met a couple of men who are just, you know, sacrificial, because my husband was one of them, you know, had to take care of the kids when he was coming up and all of that. So he thinks about others first. He's not that way no more. He takes care of himself. He takes good care of himself. He takes very good care of himself.
That's a good,
and
that's probably after years and years
after years of it. But yes, when I met him, that's the way he was. It was hard for him to receive anything from me because he's so used to doing it all and taking care. And I've met men like that. So we don't want to just, you know, we know it's mainly women, and the statistics show that and all of that.
We die more than they are. So
that's
we
what
might
I was
want
just about to say. But also, let me have another courageous moment right now.
Come on now.
Yes.
This is to my sister Michelle. So the last podcast we had, you said something about Randy is quiet or something like that. And I just let you put that on me. And I was like, I am kind of quiet, but when I have something to say, I'll say it. I am not quiet at all.
You better say it.
Me and Tara talk almost daily, and she know I am not quiet. Now, if I don't feel like it's profitable what I gotta say, then I'm just not gonna say. I'm not a person to waste words. But if I got something to say, you gonna hear it. I'm not a quiet person.
Let the record reflect.
Let us
Glad to know it. I receive. I ain't mad at you.
I am observant though. I watch as well as pray.
Yes, you better watch.
So if you're not experiencing me, it's because I don't know who I'm laboring amongst yet.
Oh, Lord.
Know them the labor amongst you.
Yes. Yes.
Girl, that wasn't courageous.
Amen.
That
God
was just
bless
the truth. I said
Well,
that's
amen.
better than a Honda. I know that's right. You better come on with your sister. I am not that easily offended. Now, if you'd have been like, I'm gonna take this courageous moment and say your hair look whack, I'll be like, hold on there.
You're always
But what she
beautiful, Michelle.
didn't do was self-silence.
Aha. Aha.
What she did not do
You
right
said
there
my
was
sister, your
self-silence.
sister podcast. We definitely need to be the example for the people. Practice on
Amen.
each other. So hey.
This is on the job
And
training.
let me tell
Real
you,
time.
that's one of
Real
the reasons
time,
why I
boo.
wanted to
And
start
thank
this
you.
podcast.
Thank you. And I'm
You don't
sorry.
say that.
Yeah, that was
And
one
I
of the
am
reasons why I
sorry.
wanted to start the podcast, is because of my self-silencing.
Mm.
I have a voice.
That's
I
right.
was told and prophesied, Tamara, you need to get your voice out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was afraid because I didn't like my voice. Now, you guys have heard this before. And so one of the ways to combat that was do a podcast.
Just do
Good.
it.
Just do it and stop self-silencing myself because I didn't feel as though I had anything that was valuable
That's
to
good.
say.
Oh,
Mhm.
shoot, we got a lot
Mhm.
of that. A lot
So
of
it was the value factor that started this podcast. But in addition to that, it not only gave you a voice,
Mhm.
it gave you a voice,
Mhm.
and it gave you a voice,
Mhm.
and it gave me a voice.
Yeah,
Amen.
that's something.
So what you were thinking was about one thing was about a whole lot more. You know,
Yes.
like when we set out to do some things, we might think it's for one reason,
Mhm.
but it ends up being beneficial for so many other reasons. And
Exactly.
so not only are we just now talking about self-silencing after 2 years, but that's because we just found the article.
That's true. But
We
God
just
has
found
a
out that
big
it was
plan.
a thing.
But
It's
God
a
has a
thing.
bigger plan. He may
Always.
have used me to start it, but he also knew that there were things and words and stories and dimensions within each of us that needed to be revealed, and that we could do something that would benefit others.
Yeah.
And so I was just a catalyst for that. But we all are working and using our voice to help others.
Mhm.
Amen.
Yes, I love
Amen.
it. I love it. So many lessons learned tonight, and mostly appreciated. Gotta just say that, in many of these conversations, there's a lot of vulnerability, a lot of truth telling, a lot of courageous moments, as it's been called in the space. And we shall not take that for granted.
Absolutely.
We don't know how the Spirit is going to lead us and guide us in these conversations. We come in, or at least I come in with a sheet full of notes and handwritten things, and you just give yourself over to the Spirit. And this is how you can really build and deepen community. And that's having these conversations that are a little sticky, that can be a little prickly, and that's okay. Again, it's about the practice.
Right.
It's about having this conversation,
Mhm.
taking in the different experiences, and then remembering that we have the power to set boundaries. We have the tools that we need: meditation, mindfulness, understanding how we can compassionately speak to one another. There are so many things that can help us along this way of practice. So I just wanted to reiterate that. Anybody out there who wants to read the article, is a little lengthy, but it has a lot of good information in there, describing it, understanding the causes, but also giving you really helpful tools and how you can begin your practice. And it's an everyday thing. This ain't no, I'm
Absolutely.
It is.
And you put
Practice
it down. This is something that you gotta continuously work at, and you don't have to work at it alone. Practice on your friends.
I want to, say to all of us, we should all try to have those courageous moments where we just speak out and say exactly what it is we feel in love.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that we do it enough.
We don't.
I agree.
Have those courageous moments enough, and then have courageous conversations.
Right.
Because a moment is a moment, but a conversation is completely different. I think we should practice having courageous conversations. I remember at times when, we would get in a circle and we would talk to each other and face one another and just put something on the table and say, let's talk about this. It's not going to be easy. Let's agree how we're going to talk about it, and let's agree how we're going to come out of it. But we don't do that enough amongst Black women, particularly.
Yeah,
And that's why I say we gotta be vulnerable. Yeah.
that's because it's so much ridiculous reality TV that we see. Not just Black women, but women in general, always being catty and, already ready to go to blows over this, that, or the other. And we don't see enough conversations. I mean, like, we got The View, we got The Talk, things like that, where people are actually having conversations that are constructive and, they can agree to disagree or whatever the case may be. But we see more of the negative stereotypes than we do good conversations and profitable conversations among women. We don't see enough of that.
That's true.
I think I agree with you. We need to do it more often. We used to have I don't know, rap sessions, whatever we used to call them. Just gatherings, even, where we could just be free and have discussions. I haven't heard of anybody doing an intervention at all. You know what I'm saying? I haven't heard of conversations where we're coming together to help somebody else come out of whatever it is that they're dealing with, or just something of that nature. Like, we don't do those kind of talks anymore. COVID has just made us go home and stay there. And unfortunately go inward for everything. But I think we do need to have more conversations. And what I've learned to say sometimes, and I'm still learning, but I learned to say, you know what, I'm going to give myself some grace to do this. I'm going to give myself some grace to say that, or I'm going to give myself some grace to go here. And I have to physically say that to myself, like, talking to myself, telling myself it's okay, and having a conversation with myself first, so that I can mentally prepare for what I'm getting ready to do, to have the courageous conversation or to express my feelings in a way that, that will be fruitful for the relationship or fruitful for the conversation that is about to take place. So I just think we, and then we need those, sister girls that we could just call and be like, look, I just need to vent this real quick. And, I don't need you to say anything. I just need you to listen. And, you could pretend like you could, role play this conversation with me, how it might go, or whatever the case.
That's right.
Because I need to have this conversation with somebody, and I don't know how it's going to go, but I need to say it, and then go back and talk about it and say, maybe I should have said it this way, or what do you think about how I said this, that, or the other? Did I speak truth to power? Did I speak truth in love, or
right?
Do I need to say it a different way?
And just a quick thing I learned from a life coach. To your point, Nikki, do you need me when you call that friend? Do you need me to help you, hear you, or hug you?
Oh, child, if I show up at your door, I need a hug.
Come on. But to your point, tell your friend what you need. I need you to either help me, hug me, or listen to me.
And sometimes you need all three.
And sometimes you need all three. That's a good ending. Well, Nikki, I'm gonna pass the mic to you to sign us off.
Oh, well, okay. Well, amen. Praise God. We thank you tonight. It was so many people on, and I want to send a shout out all the way to the ATL, to Stacy Turnbow. I saw her on here, my high school and church buddy from back in the day. Thank you so much to everyone who was on. Michelle Gilmore, I saw Pastor D was on. I saw obviously Dr. Lawler, and so many of you who were on tonight. Thank you for joining us for My Sister, Your Sister Live podcast. Thanks again to our sponsor for tonight, who is One Sleepy Night, and the whole cast and crew of One Sleepy Night. Thank you for sponsoring this show on tonight. We love you and we appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to being with you again next week. We're going to continue our discussion with our resident therapist Renisha Fluker and Pastor D, and we're going to continue that discussion on mental health around the holidays. So please join us again next week, and we love you, and peace out.
You've been listening to Soulful Inspiration. We're so glad you hung out with us today. We're here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on WVTC Detroit. If you'd like to partner with us or sponsor a show with your business, send us an email at tntsoulllc@gmail.com, or you can call us at 313-570-8280. I'm your girl, Nikki Jones.
The views and opinions expressed on the previous broadcast are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of WVTC Radio Detroit, its advertisers, or affiliates.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.